Hello and welcome. I am Light, and this is my channel. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Leigh Marine Occhi and how she went missing. Before we get started, you guys know the drill. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Please leave a message below. Those three things really help my channel to be seen. And if you'd like to share the video, please do that as well. I will be putting the address to my art store down in the description below. And let's get started, shall we? Leigh Marine Occhi was born on August 21st, 1979 in Honolulu, Hawaii, United States. She disappeared on August 27th, 1992, and she was 13 years old when she disappeared. And she disappeared from Tupelo, Mississippi. Her height was 4 feet 10 inches. Her parents were Donald Occhi and Vicki Felton. Leigh vanished under mysterious circumstances as a 13-year-old girl in her home in Tupelo, Mississippi during Hurricane Andrew. Her mother, Vicki Felton, had come home from work on the morning of August 27, 1992, to find Leigh missing, and there was evidence of blood in the house. Searches in and around Tupelo came up with nothing. On September 9th, 1992, Leigh's eyeglasses were mailed to her house in an envelope, and they were addressed to her ex-stepfather. The police deemed this action as a ruse to distract detectives from their search efforts, so they ignored it. In November 1993, a human skull discovered in a soybean field was then erroneously attributed to Leigh. But this link was later retracted, and the skull was positively identified as that of an adult woman who had gone missing in an adjacent town. Despite numerous searches, Leigh's remains or her whereabouts remain unknown. Her case has received wide media coverage. It had been on Nancy Grace and had been on 2020. So let's kind of do a little background. What do you think? Leigh Marine Occhi. I love the middle name Marine when you're born in Hawaii. She was born on August 21st, 1979 in Honolulu to Donald Occhi and Vicki Felton. They were both members of the United States Army. The couple met while they were serving in California. They married in 1997. Then they eventually divorced in 1981. Donald Occhi relocated to Germany, but he still remained in contact with his daughter, and she would go visit him there. Leigh resided in the United States with her mother, and they settled in Tupelo, Mississippi. On the morning of August 27, 1992, Leigh was left at home at 105 Honey Locust Drive in Tupelo, where her mother departed for her job at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning. Leigh had planned to attend an open house at her middle school that day with her grandma. At the time, Leigh's father was living in Virginia. Shortly after arriving at her office, Felton was notified that a storm related to Hurricane Andrew was headed right for Tupelo, so she called her house to inform her daughter. Sometime before 9 o'clock in the morning. When Leigh failed to answer, Felton became worried and left her job to go home and check on her. The drive took approximately 3-4 minutes. She lived about 1.5 miles away. According to Felton, upon returning home, she found the garage door open and the light was on. Now, the light to the garage only stayed on for a few minutes, so she knew right away that somebody had just recently opened the garage door because the light hadn't turned back off yet. When she went into the house, she noticed that there was blood smeared on the side of the wall. She said she started calling for Leigh and going through all the rooms. Then she said, then I went into her bedroom. Her favorite blanket was crumpled up on the floor, and I was very scared. After seeing this, she called 911 at about 9 a.m. Upon further inspection of the house, the police found additional pools of blood in Leigh's upstairs bedroom, as well as a significant portion smeared in the hallway, bathroom, and on her bedroom door. The blood found in the bathroom indicated to law enforcement that a perpetrator had attempted to clean that scene. Leigh's mom, Vicki Felton, stated that several of her daughter's articles of clothing were missing. Then, inside a laundry hamper in the house, detectives discovered a bloodied nightgown and a bra belonging to Leigh. Tupelo Police Chief Bart Aguirre stated, "Because it looked like the blood had dripped down onto her nightgown, you would think the injury had to be above her neck." The house showed no signs of forced entry. Immediately following Leigh's disappearance, organized searches were conducted around Tupelo, mainly through wooded areas, but they provided no information. Leigh's father, Donald, felt that his daughter was dead. This is a quote, "was dead the day my ex-wife called me and told me she was missing. My theory is that some bastard beat that child to death in that house." He also stated that while searching for his daughter in Tupelo in September of 1992, he was told by several locals to, quote, "look at the mother." However, he commented, "I was already doing that. I don't know if her mother was involved." Additionally, rumors started circulating alleging that Leigh's stepfather, Barney Yarborough, whom her mother had recently separated from, was abusive towards Leigh. Yarborough was ruled out by law enforcement, however, after he provided a substantial alibi and he passed the polygraph exam. On September 4th, 1992, 8 days after Leigh went missing, a worker at a McDonald's in Boonville told the police that they had seen a girl resembling Leigh in a car in the restaurant drive-thru. However, the child in question was determined to have been someone else. 5 days later, on September 9th, a package containing Leigh's glasses were mailed to the residence at Honey Locust Drive, and they were addressed to her stepfather, Yarborough. The package was postmarked from Boonville. After this development, the FBI became involved in a search for Leigh and performed a DNA test on the stamps that were used on the envelope and the glasses that were mailed. They didn't find anything except for the fact that whoever had put the stamps on the envelope had just used water and then stuck it into the envelope. They had not licked it. Aguirre stated that he felt that the glasses were mailed as a distraction. Quote, "There was no ransom letter or anything like that came with those glasses. It was just the glasses. You would think if it was an actual kidnapping, you would have expected a little more to come along with that." Unquote. And I'm going to ask you, but they were her glasses. What part of somebody mailed those glasses is telling you that there's no connection to her kidnapping? That just doesn't make sense to me. Her glasses were not in her room. They were her glasses. I don't understand ignoring that part and just thinking somebody's basically playing a joke. How did they get her glasses? Talk to me about that down below. On November 9th, 1993, it was reported in the Jackson Clarion Ledger that a Monroe County coroner had positively confirmed via dental records that a human skull found in a soybean field was that of Leigh. Several days later, however, the newspaper had to make a retraction. In this retraction, it was stated that the state medical examiner would perform further forensic testing on the skull, which had been uncovered by a farmer in a ditch alongside his soybean field. It was subsequently determined that the skull belonged to 27-year-old Pollyanna Sue Keith, a woman who had gone missing in March of 1993. After the stepfather, Yarborough, passed his polygraph examination, Vicki, her mother, was administered 3 separate examinations, one with local law enforcement and 2 with the FBI. Independent examiners stated that she showed deception on all 3. In 2017, Aguirre stated that Vicky was still considered a person of interest. You still can't eliminate her, he's quoted as saying. There are still too many unanswered questions for Vicky, and I don't know if that is unusual for somebody to go off to work and say, well, I just left Leigh, but I'm going to call and check on her. Why check on her so soon after she had just left her? Unquote. Vicky disputes that she had any involvement in her daughter's disappearance and has openly stated that she believes a man named Oscar McKinley, who goes by Mike Kearns, was responsible for her daughter's kidnapping. Kearns was convicted in 1999 for kidnapping a couple and S.A.ing the woman, and 9 months after Leigh disappeared, kidnapped a ninth-grade girl he had met through a Tupelo church and S.A.'d her in Memphis, Tennessee. For the kidnapping of the couple and the assault of the woman, Kearns received an 8-year sentence, but he served 4 years, and then he was released in 1997 and went on to commit the kidnapping of the ninth-grade girl and essay that resulted in his subsequent conviction. Can you even imagine? There are people who commit non-violent offenses who are given much more than 8 years and certainly serve much more than 4 years. And this man kidnapped and essayed a couple. They let him out and he went and did it again. I don't understand the judicial system sometimes. Go ahead and leave me some messages about that too as well. This case received a lot of media attention. It had been on Nancy Grace, Geraldo Rivera, 2020. It was the subject of a podcast. It was featured on The Trail Went Cold, Big Mad True Crime, and Going West. But it's been a while since it's received more attention. So I decided to do this story to put it out in the public again. Keep remembering that anything that you hear, anything your crazy uncle, your crazy grandpa, maybe not even crazy, maybe completely normal, but maybe they've had a couple of drinks, maybe they start talking. If you hear something that has to do with this crime, please call the police, because oftentimes crimes like this are solved on the tiniest detail that can connect larger details, and it's very important. I want to leave you with a quote from Donald Occhi, who is Leigh's father. He said, "This coward must have felt like a tough man or woman to beat a little girl to death. Often I cannot help but think of how horrified Leigh must have been while this piece of garbage beat her to death and watched her bleed out in the hall." If you know anything, if you've heard anything, please, please share that information for Leigh and for her family. Thank you for coming to my channel, and good night.